Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's the fourth game into the season and it's our first home game as we take on newly promoted and undefeated so far Huddersfield, who might be considered a surprise package so far. As always, we'll start with talk about our opponents. Gonzo, what's your thoughts on our visitors?
Oh, I was hoping I wasn't going to get that one, to be honest. They got a really nice stadium. Their manager's done very, very well. I'm surprised he stayed there. They were a surprise, complete surprise package that they got promoted. I think as a third team to go up, most people were thinking at a halfway point that Yap Stam would probably be the one to take Reading up. Anyway, they got through. I know you like him. He plays a good, vibrant brand of football. Apart from Tom Ince, can't tell you too much about their players, but they even did well to get him because I think Derby's promotion push was very much centred around him. They've started like they're on fire and they've started a whole lot better than we have, and they'll be coming to us very, very confident.
Our guest tonight is from Sextros, Carlton Cole, presenter of the West Ham Way radio show. Dave, what's your thoughts on Huddersfield?
Yeah, I think they can be dangerous for a lot of teams this season because they're a bit of an unknown quantity. I mean, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you 4 or 5 of their players from their squad. I still can't. Certainly didn't expect them to be anywhere near promotion last season. And the fact that they got promoted and they've done so well this season, for me, just screams praise towards what I think is a top-class manager in David Wagner. You know, he would be my choice to replace Slav, personally. I think he's quality. And one thing that I think he does very well and he's got a reputation for doing very well is he's a great coach, first and foremost, as opposed to a manager. So he works with the players intensely and he gets the best out of his players. And if you look at their attitude going into a game, they're always up for it, always up for it. And I think if you see a group of players, with all due respect, what many people would class as a bang average group of players, performing and picking up results and achieving good things, the manager's got to take a lot of credit for that. So, I don't think a lot of people are saying it's a must-win game. It's a must-win game for Slav to prolong his job, if you like, but it ain't going to be a gimme. I'll tell you that now. They're going to know that it's a good time to play West Ham.
Gonzo, would you like to see them stay up?
It's a must-win game for Slav.
I don't care. Gio, I couldn't care less. I don't care. I just always want West Ham to do well and Tottenham to do badly, and anyone else, they're welcome to whatever they get. I think it makes a nice story when promoted teams do well. It's nice for them. It's nice for their fans. But we've already got a nice story. You know, Bournemouth are a nice story. Burnley are a nice story. They're not clubs that traditionally, well, maybe Burnley 60, 70 years ago, whatever, but in the modern day, the modern era, those are not teams that really should be in the Premier League because of their size. So the fact that they're in the Premier League is a miracle anyway. It's a good news story. It's a nice story. Huddersfield are just another one of those. Good luck to them, but couldn't care less whether they stay up or go down. Gio, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Dave, do you think Huddersfield will stay up?
If they can keep hold of David Wagner, I think they'll definitely stay up. And they have the really nice luxury of being a newly promoted team with nothing to lose and no pressure. And a lot of newly promoted clubs get wins off the back of that alone. So, yeah, I do think they do because they've got the right mentality. And like I say, tactically and from a man management perspective, their manager is bang on point. So I think they will.
If you would like to join us on the boats on Monday night before the game, they're open at 5 o'clock. There is still some tickets left. The link is below, and the link is also there for Dave's latest podcast on the West Ham Way. So check it out as well if you haven't already. Now, let's talk about West Ham. Could be Bilić's last game. Gonzo, is it time to change it? Are we going 3 at the back, or do you think we should stick with 4?
We'll find out how brave Bilić is, won't we? We'll see how much he really wants to keep his job, because fortune favours the brave, doesn't it? So he's got to take a risk. What he's been doing doesn't work. Okay, he's got a counter-attacking team, or he wants to play a counter-attacking style. He hasn't got the necessary pace within the team to play how he wants to play. So he's going to have to be Bolin's Slav, basically, rather than their manager that we've seen for the past, 12, 18 months, whatever. And if he wants to keep his job, he needs to go for it. And he's certainly not going to go for it by playing overly defensive players and one up top and isolating Chicharito up top, which is what he seems to be doing. yeah, those are basically my thoughts on it. He has to go for it because he can probably feel his P45 in his hand at the moment. He really needs to go for it.
Dave, what about yourself? Would you be switching to 3 at the back for this one, or would you be keeping the flat back 4?
It's a difficult one. I think for me, I think he's probably going to have to shake it up purely because we haven't got Arnautovic or Lanzini. I think if you've got those players fit, I'm a big believer in keeping the 3 behind the central striker. That central striker being Hernandez, the 3 behind, obviously, for me, Arnautovic, Lanzini and Antonio. I mean, if you ain't got goals there, you'll never have goals. But defensively, that's what it's all about. You know, you can still pick up points if you don't score goals, but you can still lose games if you do score goals. And my biggest concern is defence. But in terms of strategically going in against Huddersfield, I would probably play 3 at the back with wing backs. And in that case, if we get a fit Andy Carroll, it's a big if, but a realistic if actually for once, I think Creswell and Zabaletta's contribution in terms of their delivery is crucial. And Carroll's got to play to his strengths. This is going to be his sort of game. And reluctantly, I'd probably play Hernandez on the wing.
Would you?
Probably, yeah, because I mean, like, you could play Are You There, but I just don't like the thought of not playing Hernandez. And I just think for this sort of game, this is tailor-made for Carroll, you know, to get stuck in, old school striker approach, get on the end of some good crosses. And, yeah, for me, Hernandez has got to start, even if he's in goal. He's that good. He's got to start week after week. So I'd rather play him in an attacking, as one of the attacking forward 4, than not at all.
Gonzo, what about yourself? Andy Carroll, I mean, he's been in training for about a month now, although he hasn't played any action. He's been in training for a while. Would you be throwing him in, or would you be playing Sacco, or just Hernandez up front on his own?
Well, I've got to be honest, I didn't think Carroll was an option. So I've done my team already. And so if I'm allowed to have Carroll in there, then I would play Andy Carroll. So if I'm working on the assumption that if he can play, then Gary Lewin's decided that he is fit enough, okay? So with that, I'm going 4-4-2, but it's with a twist. I've got Joe Hart, I've got Sam. I think we need to attack. I've got Sam Byron at right back. I've got Declan Rice at centre back next to Winston Reid. I've got Aaron Cresswell at left back. I've got Antonio on the right wing. I've got Obiang, Kiete in the middle, and I've got Masuaku on the left wing. And so basically, you've got you've got an attacking winger, attacking fullback on both sides, and they are going to bung. Well, I'm saying they might not do anything this song because he might not play this way. But in my mind, they're putting loads of crosses over. And if Andy Carroll's there, then Andy Carroll and Hernandez as a front 2. That would be my brave. If I had one game to save my job and I had to go for it, that's what I'd be doing.
It's a formation that they're not used to, though, which would concern me.
Yeah, what I was going to say, what would concern me with that is their striker, Mooney, going into this weekend is won the most aerial battles in the league. Is this a game you'd leave James Collins out for, given that he's probably our strongest player in the air?
I just think that every decision Bilić has made in the last year has been one of fear, where he has, I think actually sets his stall out to worry about what the opposition are doing, and I just don't think it works. I think this is his one time to sort of grab the ball by the horns and think, actually, forget what they're going to do. We're going to attack them. We're going to go from. We have to get in a mindset. Actually, we're at home. We're West Ham United. They're Huddersfield. Regardless of whether their striker might be good in the air or whatever, they just need to go for it. And I think he is absolutely. He's in a straitjacket in a way he fears everyone else. We have to go for it, and we have to be confident that the 11 players that we put out on our pitch are better than the 11 players that they can put out on their pitch. So as good as their striker might be, do you know what? Andy Carroll and Chicharito are better than him, and that's what it has to. Let them worry about Andy Carroll in the air, not we worry about him. I just think that's it. I think if he goes in with fear, the moment you go in with fear, you start defensive, he gets a draw, he's out, he's gone.
2 players I want to talk about quickly, Dave, both in the centre midfield role so far, Mark Noble and Declan Rice. Would you be playing either or both or neither? Because on one hand, it's Bilić's last job. Last season, when they go and got tough, 2 players stepped up, Collins and Noble probably. It's the captain. Can you drop the captain on such a big occasion? Now, on the other hand, you've got Declan Rice, made a mistake against Newcastle. How his confidence is, we don't know. Can you risk a kid? And should you be playing a kid in such a big occasion for the manager?
No, I think if you're going to play a central 2, and those central two are fit, which I believe they both are on Monday, it's got to be Kiati and Obiang for me. So immediately, I wouldn't start Rice or Noble. I think Declan Rice has been one of our best players this season, to be honest. I was very unhappy at the way he was substituted against Newcastle. I thought that was very poor man management by Slav. We spoke to Declan, we interviewed him on a radio show. Very headstrong, unbelievably mature for his age. So hopefully that hasn't affected him. But I think Bilić risked affecting him when he took him off. I thought it was a bad call. But to answer the question, no, I wouldn't start either of them. And before the season, I was always calling for youth to be introduced to the squad. So I would have been bringing on players in the last 20, 25 minutes of every game, ease them in when the pressure's off, either if you're winning or you're losing 3-0 or whatever, and tactically you can't make that much of a difference to the game. And then ease him in that way. Now, he's started him and he's done okay, thankfully. But I wouldn't start Declan, no. I also definitely wouldn't start Mark Noble. Before the season, I said that I saw him more featuring for West Ham rather than starting. I see Mark's contribution moving forward as maybe coming on in the last 20, 25 minutes again in a game, maybe to sit in front of the defence and protect a lead, for example. And for that reason, he wouldn't be captain for me. I'd give the armband to someone else. I'd let Zab have it, for example.
I would like to see 3 at the back for this one. I think that's where we won most of our points last season. 3 at the back. I'd have Collins in there. I'd probably play Zabaleta centre back. The one thing that I took from Newcastle that worried me was at half time, someone must have had a word with Atsu, because all he did in the second half was kick it past Zabaleta and run. He was simply faster than him, and it worked. It was so there was nothing Zabaleta could do. He was busting an ass to get back, but he just wasn't. He couldn't keep up. 50% of Huddersfield attacks against Palace, their only away game this season, came down their left. They've had the most corners in the Championship. We've conceded the most, one of the most corners. And it worries me that they're going to target Zabaleta. So if we're going to play wing backs, it would worry me if it was Zabaleta there. So I'd play him in the right side of the defence, if you like, alongside Reid, alongside Collins. 3 really experienced centre backs. No excuses from them. If you're going to make mistakes, you shouldn't be. It goes for Font as well, but we know what he's like. And I would have Carroll and Hernandez up front. It's risky playing Carroll. We don't know how fit he is, but Bilić has got to take risks. If Carroll gets injured, but Bilić loses his job, does Bilić really have to worry about it next week? It's not his job anymore. It's for the next guy to look after. There is a risk, though. But Carroll, on his day, for me, is one of the best strikers in the league when he's fit and fighting.
Yeah, great.
He's unbeatable in the league. I prefer him to, not Hernandez, but I prefer him to Sacco, but 100 miles any day of the week. But Gonzo, how can we win this? Bilić has to win. He has to. I think we're all expecting him to go if he doesn't win. So how can he win?
In the way that I just said, we have to go for it. There is no... He's not going to win it by having that wrong mentality, but I think he's going to win it 1-0. The biggest thing he has to do is he has to turn the atmosphere in that stadium positive straight away. And that means, I mean, from kickoff. I'm going to say kickoff. I don't mean the first 10 minutes. I mean from the moment that first ball is kicked, if it's our, presuming that we get to kick the ball, we take the centre spot, we go for it straight away, and we attack with pace, and we attack in numbers, and we go for it. That way, that's the only way I can see us winning. Make them fear us. They've had a really nice start to the Premier League, but let's show them. We've been a Premier League team for a few years now. Let's show them what the Premier League is all about. We should not be going into it fearing a team like Huddersfield. If you do and you go in with that defeatist mentality, you've lost before it's begun. You really have.
The problem is, I think it says a hell of a lot that we are kind of sort of being overly concerned about a team like Huddersfield coming to West Ham now. You know, this should be a given. This should be 3 points. And we're talking about how, you know, this Mooney fella, for example. I mean, I think I've heard his name 2 or 3 times before. These people shouldn't be worrying West Ham. And what worries me more than anything else is we're saying, oh, Slav has to get his players ready and up for it. That's the problem. The players ain't playing for him. It doesn't matter who they're turning out against. We wrote that game off at Man United away. Fair enough. Potential champions. But we rolled over and died. But we wrote it off because, you know, we're playing a good side. To be honest, that papered over the cracks because in the manner that we lost, that was unacceptable. And the players are not playing for the manager. That's the biggest problem. And Rafa, I think, knew that when we went to Newcastle. He knew exactly how to capitalise on our players. He knew that he was up against a group of players that don't care, that don't play for their manager, are not motivated, don't prepare for games, are not fully organised, and are there for the taking. If you watch how Newcastle pressed our players, they pressed us into making individual mistakes because they know they could do. And we just got trounced on the back of that strategy. So West Ham are there for the taking at the moment. And until we change our manager, we always will be. Because I don't think Slav's going to get himself out of this. I think the rot is setting in too much.
Yeah, I think we'll find out. I think Monday will be telling if the players have given up with him or not. I thought Southampton showed they were still with Slav, but I thought Newcastle, there was zero evidence to suggest that they still had it. That's why I would play Mark Noble, believe it or not, because I think if there's one player who must be thinking he better stay manager, it's Noble. Noble must know if Bilić goes, the next manager's going to be looking at him thinking, do you want him to start anymore? It's a bit like when Nolan with Allardyce, when Allardyce left, everyone knew Nolan's time was up. His new manager's going to come in. You're the first one out of that team. And I wonder if the new manager's going to do the same with Noble. They're going to come in and say, you're the first one out. And Noble should know that himself. So that's why I would be putting him in. And if I was Bilić, I'd be honest with him, saying, you probably don't deserve to start. Your manager's probably looking at you if he comes in. So if you don't go out there and rally your team up and get a win, I might have a job, but you're probably out the first 11 next week. So it's up to you. But Dave, how confident are you? You don't sound very confident. But last season when the going got tough, we got points. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't nice. It was 1-0. It was backs against the wall. But are you confident that we'll do the same again? Or do you think it's even worse than it was last year? And
well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, the reason Sam Allardyce got sacked, and the big reason he got sacked, is because the fans just couldn't take to this, boring style of football that he implemented at West Ham. I'm not being funny. Look at last season. That wasn't any better than it was under Sam Allardyce. In fact, I think it was worse. It was painfully boring to watch West Ham last season, and finishing 11th in the league flattered us because we were nicking wins in games that we deserved to lose. And there were so many of those games that we won 1-0 and we should have lost the game. So it's a continuation from that, really. You probably know that I've been calling for Slav to go for nearly a year now. And I used to get slated on Twitter for saying that. And now the same people that were slating me are agreeing with me. I knew this day would come. If he was a dog, you'd get him put to sleep, wouldn't you? Because he's suffering too much now. And it's just a case of when, not if, Slav goes. So I can see us maybe nicking the odd win whilst he's still in charge, but I don't think we will be glamorous with that victory or victories. I don't think he can put an exciting style of football together. Okay, he did it at the Bowling last season at the Bowling, but I've got my own theories on why that happened. And who knows? The one thing that I've learned over the years as a West Ham fan is you never know. You never know. I mean, one week you can lose to at home to the club that's bottom of the table, and next week you can go and nick a 3-0 win to the defending champions away from home. That's why I never bet on West Ham. I never put them in an accumulator because you just don't know what you're going to get. If you're asking me for an out-and-out prediction, I think it's going to be 1-0.
Gonzo, are you confident?
No, it's not.
Sorry, Gonzo, are you confident for this one?
I'm not confident at all. But that tired old dog who's on its last legs on its way to the vets wagged its tail one last time this week because I thought he did a very good press conference, but I thought it was gallows humour. He was humorous, but I thought it was gallows humour. It was a man who knew his time was up. I'm not confident at all. And talking about the 1-0, which incidentally is my prediction as well, is I think it'll be a 1-0. The 1-0, of course, is the worst result you can possibly get because I also think that Bilić can't do it. I think he's tactically inept, Dave. I just think if we lose, he's gone. Forget this 4 games. I said they're going 4 games. They won't. If he's gone bottom of the league for after 4 games, no points, he'll be gone. They won't give him Tottenham and West Brom and all that sort of stuff. I think win, and it's good news. Win is good news because it will show actually he has turned it around. I think that'll be a minor miracle if he turns it round. A bunch of players that look demotivated. And he doesn't really have the tactics. Suddenly he can find some tactics, motivate the team. Then it's 3 points. At the end of the day, we don't want us to get relegated. So that would be winning's good. Losing's not good, but losing means we possibly get a new manager and we can pull ourselves out of it. A draw, you mentioned papering over the cracks. That is papering over the cracks. That may well mean that he gets his 4 games. And my only worry was if we get a draw, then he gets to have the next 2 games, which we then could go on to lose. And then all of a sudden, rather than being 4 games, no points, do you know what? We're actually 6 games and 1 point, and then it's serious. So that's my view, Joe.
I'm not sure a draw is going to save him, to be honest. I think it's win or you're gone. I think he's got a sword up against his stomach going into this one, and it's a case of if you win, we back off with this for another week. But if you draw or lose, that's it. You're done. I think we've seen a different Bilić just last week in his press conferences. Granted, he had a joke, but I think what he was telling us without being direct was he's pointing at the chairman a little bit and saying he's to blame for all this, and he did it in his own way. That he remains professional enough. He remained classy enough. He didn't just come out and say it. I think he hinted. I think most West Ham fans picked up what Bilić was trying to say out of it, and I think we've seen a different side to Bilić. But I do wonder if that's him just sort of throwing everything out there and saying, if I'm going to go in a blaze of glory type thing. Am I confident? No, I'm scared. I am scared for going into this one. I don't know why. It's too early. I'm not saying we're relegation, but there's just some stuff going on with the club right now that just does not fit. Nothing fits right now at the club. But I do think the fans are up for it. I've seen a change of mood from anger to sort of, right, okay, anger's gone now. Let's get behind the team on Monday night. Let's get behind the team and make our voices heard. Even if it's just for 90 minutes, the fans will turn up for 90 minutes, give it their all, get behind the team, get the points, and then we can switch back to their attention toward Bilić or the board or both, whichever your views are. But I think most people are starting to realise that it's dig-in time for everyone involved with the club. But Dave, any final words from yourself?
I've got a lot of words. I've always got a lot of words. But in terms of final words on this subject, if I'm brutally honest, I'm going to say something very, very controversial now, and I can't believe I'm saying it if I'm honest. But there is a part of me that hopes we do lose on Monday. Because if we lose on Monday, I get my wish and Slav goes. As much as I love him as a bloke, I love him as much as the next bloke does. Believe me, he's a top fella. The players love him, I can tell you that for a fact. But they're not playing for him. But from a fan's perspective, he's not the man to take this club forward, and I think he's holding us back. Genuinely, that's how I feel. I do think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be a boring game. I hope I'm wrong. But the problem's the manager. You know, the squad isn't great. It's light. But the starting 11, that's a good starting 11 West Ham have got when fully fit. And we need the right manager to come in and take those boys forward. So, for me, this isn't about West Ham at the moment. This is Slav. It's a Slav show, and when that comes to an end, then we can kickstart our season.
Gonzo, any final words from yourself?
No, just, I mean, what they've said about, you know, hoping that we lost. It's not like he hopes West Ham lose because he hates West Ham.
No,
he wants to lose so we can get better. It's almost like when you're sort of really damaged, you dislocated your thumb, you got to snap it before you put it back in. Do you know what I mean? And so I do get what you're saying there. I mean, for myself, I'm so much looking forward to the game. We're going up there. We're doing a stadium tour beforehand, which we're really looking forward to. That's at 12. I'm going to be in Stratford from 12 until about 8 o'clock. I'm going to be absolutely steaming when I go into that stadium. We're going down the boats. Hopefully you lot join us. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what that atmosphere is like. I'm desperate to see us win. We've waited such a long time for a first home game. I'm desperate to see us win, but I'm not confident.
I think we'll squeeze a win. I just think whenever Slav's needed a win, he's got one. I still think that papers over the cracks. So even a win, even if it's just, I think I'm going for 2-1, but I think that just papers over the cracks. I think he's got it's just like Kevin is saying, it's a case of when and not if now, and it's a sort of how long does he just keep winning, and you just wonder how many games does he have to win before he can go a game without winning. If that makes sense, like against Huddersfield and lose against West Brom, I still expect him to go. So how many games does he have to win before he can lose a game and not get sacked? I think that's the question if we win on Monday night. But that's a question for another show. But you guys, you haven't checked out the West Ham Way's latest podcast. The link is below. It's my favourite one yet. It's really, really good debates. There's 3 people on. They've all got different opinions. That's what makes it really good. It's rare that happens, but that's really good. Join us on the boats. The link is below. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like on it if you've enjoyed the video. And we'll be back on Monday night with our review, and Tuesday, Gonzo's vlog. But that's been Dave from Sex Jocks Carlton Cole. That's been myself and Gonzo as normal. Thank you for joining us.